Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, this major genetic testing company was permitted to sell its valuable DNA, valuable info, after filing for bankruptcy. Various privacy concerns. At the same time, when this new buyer will be allowed, whomever that new buyer will be eventually, they are going to have a gold mine of valuable information. Yes. And the selling off of that valuable gold miners is going to make numbers of people that's going to be extremely richer. But let me go ahead and get to this particular initial video. Give me one moment. And I also want you to keep this in mind. If this was Black Americans that were being responsible for this company, and however situations came upon where now they went into bankruptcy with all this health and genetic ancestry information, there would be outrage. Oh my goodness, that's probably affirmative action. Oh my goodness, no DEI. Oh my goodness, those Negroes. You see how that goes, but when it's one of numbers of people within various parts of Panama's culture who continue to keep doing things like this, then it's like, but at the same time, you got those people want to be like, we're victims. You see how that goes, right? But let's go ahead and play the initial video. One moment here. Make sure you get that right. Which one is this one here? Hold on. Okay, here we go. Make sure that's open. All right, there we go.
Testing company 23andMe filed for genetic testing company 23andMe filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection to initiate the process of selling off its assets, while the troubled firm's co-founder Anne Wojcicki, who was attempting to take 23andMe private, co-founder Anne Wojcicki, who was attempting to take 23andMe private, stepped down from her role with the intent to become an outside bidder for the asset sale. 23andMe went public in 2021 after completing a merger with a special purpose acquisition company, or SPAC. The genetic testing company's market capitalization peaked at $6 billion shortly after going public, with Wojcicki becoming a billionaire. However, at $6 billion shortly after going public, with Wojcicki becoming a billionaire. However, since then, the company's share price has plummeted by more than 99% as it failed to turn a profit, becoming a billionaire. However, since then, the company's share price has plummeted by more than 99% as it failed to turn a profit. In 2023, the company reported a major data breach as hackers managed to gain access to user data through a recycled password attack. The sensitive stolen data was shared on hacker forums, and the sellers claimed it contained over 1 million genetic data points belonging to Ashkenazi Jews.
By the way, you see this little mental switchery little tactic, right? You see, oh my goodness, these Ashkenazi Jewishism. Oh my goodness, they numbers of their stuff were stolen. When at the same time, it was about around what I think 14 to 16 million plus or minus customers that 23andMe had. So, gigantic amount of those tests was from Ashkenazi Jewish people, right? And then you ask the question, how many Ashkenazi Jewish people are in the planet? The games of this, right? So you have to watch the little game plan on this situation. Because then if you throw out the word Jewishness in this situation, then it minimizes it, or then someone can say, oh my goodness, see, whoever did this was, they're anti-Semitic. You see the little games, right? She said, watch the games on this, right? And then where's the little sexist comments, right? About, the co-founder part. Where is that old sexist comment, right? Wojcicki, Aaron Wojcicki, who was the CEO of 23andMe, right? Where's that old sexist comments about her, right? Because what about where's that? She's DEI, right? You see how the hypocrisy go. Because if this was a black woman who was the CEO of 23andMe, they'd be saying, oh, she got there because she was DEI, or got there because of affirmative action. You see how certain ones within certain parts of the economics culture, you see how numbers of them are very slick. And you got some poor ones in certain parts of economics culture, and some ones in the middleness, right? That sit there and do the same thing. They get very quiet when it's one of theirs who sit there and do heinous things, right? They get very quiet and minimize, right? Let's continue.
The stolen data also reportedly featured unvalidated entries belonging to tech billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. In a press release, the company said it had initiated Chapter 11 proceedings before the Eastern District of Missouri Federal Bankruptcy Court to, quote, facilitate a sale process to maximize the value of its business. The genetics testing company said it will continue to operate its business while the asset sales process goes through, and there will be, quote, no changes made to how it, quote, stores, manages, or protects customer data. The DNA testing firm also announced its co-founder, Ann Wojcicki, was stepping down from her role as CEO, effective immediately. However, she will continue to serve as a member of 23andMe's board. Last month, Wojcicki partnered with investment firm New Mountain Capital to make a bid to purchase all of 23andMe's outstanding shares for $2.53 per share, but the effort failed after the investment firm pulled out of the deal. If the court approves the Chapter 11 plan, the company plans to solicit bids over 45 days and then conduct an auction if multiple bidders emerge. The statement said any potential buyer will be required to, quote, comply with applicable law with respect to the treatment of customer data. For more on this story, check out Siladitya Ray's article in the link.
I'll go through all that. Isn't it interesting how, again, the minimization of this, right? They hadn't had a profit, wink, wink, supposedly since several years. And you see the astronomical decline of what 23andMe market share was, what they was talking about. And as I'm sitting there looking at, today is April 18, 2025, it's showing as of right now, it says $1.30 for those stocks. So whoever the new buyer is going to be, they are going to get a treasure trove of information. And again, today is April 18, 2025. And as of right now, it says about $1.30 of what the stock for 23andMe is going for. And watch how gigantically that stock is going to go up regardless. If he went up 250, that's still, or 260, that's still 100% profit. 100% going up. And so it's going to be more than that, right? Unless some situation don't happen and someone starts to branch it off in some other different areas. The whole point, it's going to be a gigantic richness of information when a new buyer gets this. So I make this point, where's the sexist comments about Wojcicki, right? Because 23andMe was founded by Wojcicki, another Anglo woman, and then I think it was a Anglo male on that. Where's the sexist comments about the two women? Whereas the racial comment about the Anglo guy or the non-black male who they co-founded 23andMe, and see what's going on right now. Those the stock owners, wherever it is, they want or the creditors, they want to be reimbursed for these kind of things, right? But no one tells people, get over it. You chose that. But again, if this was black Americans who had 23andMe, it'll be like, oh my goodness, See, this is the problem with those Black Americans. They always sitting there, being criminality. They always being lazy. They always want something for nothing. But what's in other people within various parts of Panamanian culture do these things over and over and over again, over and over and over again. Then it's whatever, it's business as usual. So let's go ahead and let me go ahead and read. Let me go ahead and read this particular article on this situation as well. It talks about how, and by the way, I'm utilizing this as a fair usage doctrine on that particular first video. And let me read this other article. I'll read this article. It talks about bankrupt 23andMe DNA data gets a sell nod as the concerns are lingering about the privacy concerns. It talks about how bankrupt genetic testing firm 23andMe holding company won permission from a judge to try to sell information about customers' medical and ancestry. They want permission from a judge to try and sell information about customers' medical and ancestry related data, a trove that is considered the most valuable asset in this insolvency and has become a source of privacy and safety concerns amid the company's collapse. Shares in the company surge on the news, jumping as much as 158%, as investors speculated that the bankruptcy court bring in enough cash to pay them something once all of 23andMe's debts are paid. Under bankruptcy rules, any sale would need to bring in more than the company owes creditors, at least $214 million, before anything could be paid to the shareholders. Now, this article was March 27, 2025. It talks about how for the buyer. Let's see here. 23andMe hasn't been profitable since going public in 2021. And this is 2025 in April. 23andMe hasn't been profitable since going public in 2021, despite collecting DNA from saliva samples for more than 15 million customers. Now, those samples and the genetic data they yielded have become the bankrupt company's most marketable asset, and the prospect of the sensitive information being put up for auction has sparked anxieties among customers worried about how and where of their material may be used. And finishing up, it talks about how, you know what, I'm gonna stop right here. Stop right on that particular part. Where is oh my goodness, the customers chose to do that. They chose to do that part of it, right? Now, this other thing, and I'm looking at the website right now, 23andMe right now, still active. Ancestry service, $99. Health plus ancestry service, $199. They have a recommended part, says 23andMe plus premium, $199. And they have a 23andMe plus total health for $499 for the first year. Oh, excuse me. The previous one that said recommended 23andMe plus premium says $199 for the first year. You see how this goes? But 23andMe, according to this article, was supposed to not have been had not turned a profit since 2021, I think what I read. Yeah, 23andMe hasn't been profitable since going public in 2021, and they are still allowed to sit there and continue to keep selling these things, right? Now, again, if this is Black American, they'd be like, oh, no, people owned it. Oh, no. If that was a Black woman, two Black women, Black American women, and one Black American male that had started the 23andMe, and now all of a sudden they went through bankruptcy and was still allowed to sit there and have an active 23andMe website, right? On that. And then the little trickery base. Oh my goodness, they hadn't got a profit since 2021. Well, what were Wojcicki and how other people, were they sitting there for free? How are they paying their workers for free for 4 years? And she's supposed to be a wink billionaire, and she's married to a billionaire. Do you see how this goes, right? You see the little trickery in this system of supremacy, which is the most awesome mental manipulation force that has ever existed. The trickery is demonic, right? Because there'd have been all kind of racism, racial racism, terrorism, comments if this was 23andMe was started by Black Americans, right? You see how that goes. And it's actually a particular genetic testing company that is of Black Americans, should we say, right? That's a known one, should we say, on that part. And how many people from within High Part predominates culture or how other people have been coming after that specifically Black American owned genetic testing company, the only one in the country, the only one. And how many times they are still getting propagandized in a bad way against them, right? You see how this goes, right? You got people that do not want to see Black Americans succeed in Americanism, right? Now, if they sitting there doing criminality, or they sitting there stealing, or they sitting there doing all kind of wrong things, and oh my goodness, then they can say, oh my, look at those Black Americans. Even when they have companies, they're being criminal. They have companies they probably got because of DEI. Oh, they got companies because of, affirmative action. When the originators of the affirmative action was people within various parts of predominates culture. The original nepotism type people was personnel within various parts of predominates culture. The original people who get corporate welfare as people within the various parts of predominates culture. But you got people, many numbers of people that are scared as hell to talk about that. And the system knows that. One last particular video I'm going to sit there and show on this part of it. Give me 1 second. One moment. This hypocrisy is very real in this too. Hold on, did I get that right? Okay, here we go. I think this is it here. All right. If I don't forget, I want to read a couple of comments from this particular site. I'm utilizing this as fair usage doctrine as well. Here we go.
You're here to understand what 23andMe is all about, right?
And how does it work? What does DNA even stand for anyway?
How about what's happening to the millions of genetic test results held by a now bankrupt Silicon Valley firm? Legal experts say a mass DNA sell-off may be next, along with any financial and personal info 23andMe saved along the way.
They can then tell you your family lineage, your heritage, where you came from, and all of these very sensitive, unique information to a specific person.
Founder and CEO Anne Wojcicki resigned after her bids to buy out the publicly traded company were rejected. At the height of her fame and wealth, Ms. Wojcicki was often asked what kept customers' DNA safe after they'd spat it out and mailed it to Silicon Valley.
Privacy doesn't mean not sharing, and that privacy actually means choice, and that people say, like, I want to have the choice to say no one sees my data.
Oh, this is just a sidetrack commentary, and I'm utilizing this video as a fair usage doctrine as well. There is something going on with certain numbers of males that have an extreme self-confidence issue. This is not the topic of topics, but this is just something I observe. You can have males out there that can be rich of richness, and they will have some of the driest looking wives out there. Some of the driest looking ones. It's almost like, oh my goodness, you making all that money and that's the best you can do? So it's almost like numbers of them are settling. And that's what feminists loves. Have you noticed this for a second? It is 9,000% not a woman who is rich, right? And men are sitting there doing how to marry a millionaire type stuff, right? How do we sit there and go marry a rich woman? And so then, we go marry a rich woman, then we become basically rich, right? You notice that happened? That don't you notice how, excuse me, that 99999% does not happen, but it's 9999% the opposite, right? But no one called that out, right? Said, oh man, that's reverse sexist. Why is it that males must settle? All right. But anyway, continuing on that. But again, for this, where's the sexist comments against, Wojcicki or the other woman who co-founded, or the racial hatred toward the male one that helped found 23andMe? Because again, if this was Black Americans who founded this, there'd have been all types of hatred, right? And various people know within various parts of American culture, they know it's the truth, but not many of them try to play dumb. And there are ones who want to be like certain ones within the Panamese culture, who look upon certain ones within the Panamese culture as their gods, who know that's the truth on that situation, how they do, and they'll play defenses. Continuing.
Or I want to have the choice to say, all my family sees my data, or make it public.
Nearly a decade later, the truth of those claims is being put to the test.
Now
We get to spit?
you get to spit.
So the thing about it is, where is the outrage? Where is the outrage at? Whereas oh my goodness, those people, oh man, I was gonna show some comments. You know what? Let me see right quick let me see if I can go back and share this screen. Take a look at the comments real fast. Some of this, give me a second. Oh yeah, I think it is here. Let me a second. Let me go back and make sure you can see that. Okay, let's look at some of these comments. Make sure you can see that. This is, oh, god dang it, these comments are turned off for this one. This is not, well, I can't do that one then. Let me see if I can go back and look at the other one, the first video I showed. Let me see if I can go back and look at that one then. We can go look at this one. All right, I think I can go back and look at this one here. Let's see if we can look at this one here. All right. Now we can look at this one. So this is the first video I showed you. 23andMe files for bankruptcy and CEO and Wojcicki exits. Here's what we know. Now, again, where's the sexist comments toward her? Right? You see how the hypocrisy is it if this is the Black woman who is a CEO of 23andMe, and they are also trying to have a side bid or however to the new owners. They stepped down from the CEO, but they were still part of this 23andMe. If that was a Black woman and she was trying to do that, oh man, they would have been trying to come after that Black woman, call all kind of DEIs and affirmative action. You see how that goes, right? Boy, the game is tight, boy. When a share price plummets by 99%, that's a wipeout catastrophic. The company failed to innovate and introduce other services and products, and also achieve other companies to improve their baseline. That database worth so much money. Why would you pay to give your DNA away? This never made sense to me. People are so silly. I'm just going with the flow of this. Anyone with common sense saw this coming. Wow, what a nightmare. Thank goodness that the other two companies exist, whatever that's supposed to mean. So is she still a billionaire, or did that disappear with the shares dropping by 99%? She's married to a billionaire. Doesn't matter. Wow, I wasn't aware of that. The stolen Jaws data. That's a bit creepy and Pacific. You see the game on that. But what did I relay over in that article? It's about 14 to 15 million of customers. So how can 14, 15 million during customers be of Jaws background? You see this silly ass tactic. And Jaws not supposed to be a race. And by the way, for people who may not know, in certain places across that Atlantic Ocean, in certain place, right? That's supposed to be a main place for Jawism, right? It has been relayed that it's been relayed to certain ones that you do not do any type of DNA test. Because remember, Joshism ain't not supposed to be a race. Joshism is supposed to be about Judaism, practicing Judaism, which is a religion. But I don't go into all that. But you see how people play these little tactics. When you sleep around to prop up your ideal, woo, look at this. When you sleep around to prop up your ideal, ooh, somebody sees what's going on. Is Ann really an Ann or an Albert? That face looks awfully masculine. When you marry a Google billionaire, starting a business is easy. You see already, right? People know that. No. So again, where's all those sexist comments? You just read, I'll go somewhere with that. Those weren't no sexist kind of comments like that on that situation. They should not observe what they observe, because again, if that was a black woman, there would have been all kind of racist comments about that. She's DEI. She's affirmative action. When the first people in Americanism, the first progenitors of DEI and affirmative action and nepotism and cronyism is ones within the predominant-based culture, and they got the damn nerve to call black people collectively lazy and DEI. One of the main people in DEI is numbers of women within the predominant-based culture. The original people, affirmative action recipients, is personnel within various parts of predominant-based culture, be it social, right? Be it economics, be it politically, doesn't matter. You can be the poorest of poorest and still be a recipient of affirmative action socially and politically, right? The game is tight, boy. The mental manipulation is tight. So, in finishing up, it's the hypocrisy of this, right? There are still 23andMe. I'm looking at the website right now. It's still active right now. Still selling these services on this right now. These genetic testing, right? Health and ancestry service, still selling, but they're not supposed to have had done a profit. 23andMe hasn't been profitable since going public in 2021. How are they paying their workers then if they weren't being profitable? Right? And for years. You see how this goes, right? You see the tactics. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show.